Hello, people. How are you? I know I didn't give a notice, not much of a notice, but I literally just walked in the door a few minutes ago. And I was thinking while I was on the road that I should do a video. It's been a little while since I did a video. I'm tired. Can't you tell? Look at my eyes. I know. I know. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing okay. I know some of you will have to watch this, will have to watch the replay. That's fine because I didn't give you very much of a notice at all. So I'm going to give it a couple of more minutes. And I text as many of you as I could to let you know I'm going on at 7. And it's a little bit before 7. But anyway, I wanted to touch base with you all because I hadn't been back on here for a couple of weeks. And a lot has happened in a couple of weeks. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that this evening. And I'm going to try not to be on here longer than an hour, shorter if I can, because I have another meeting at 9 o'clock tonight. So, anyway, hope everybody's doing okay. Make sure you know the drill. If you've been with me a while, you know the drill. Make sure you say hi in the chat and let me know where you're signaling from so I can acknowledge you. I like to acknowledge everybody that takes their time to come on and visit with me when I do come on, since a lot of my videos are impromptu. I do try to remember to get out a notification for you, but that does, like today, doesn't always happen. I was texting you guys if you've given me your phone number, and I have it in my contacts. I will always try to text you and let you know when I'm coming on. I don't always do it, but most of the time I'm able to get a text message in there. So, all right, let me give it a couple of more minutes here. And then, like I said, if you're not on now, you can watch the replay later, which is that'll be just fine. I'm trying to get to my thing here. Okay. I put down just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, just some observations that I had, and some concerns that I have for some people. I've been seeing a lot of videos now. Normally, I try to look at what's happening in other countries as well as what is happening here. Um, and I had put a lot of emphasis on China and what had been going on in China, and it is a very very bad situation over there. Um, the bad thing about dealing with a communist country is that they double down. There's virtually no respect for life or rights or anything. The people generally don't have any rights when you're in a communist country. And there's not a whole lot of difference between Marxism and communism. But anyway, um, so I was looking at the economy, how things were going over there. And it ain't that great. And I'm looking at how things are going here. Now, we keep hearing reports about um, how our country is doing so much better. And I have to believe it is doing better than it was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, even a year ago, when our borders were overrun, where crime was at an all-time high. I think might have been the highest we've seen on average in our nation. Um, and so there has been some improvement in some areas, but there was so much. Hi, Carolyn. There was so much destruction that was done in the 4 years that President Trump was not in office, that I don't know that we will be able to recover from all of it. in the next 3 years. It hasn't even been a year that he's been in office yet, and he's working hard trying to clean up some mess. Now, there are other things going on that I got a little bit of a concern about, um, concerning the economy. That there's a part of me that understands why it's going the way it is, and then there's another part of me that looks at it like a double-edged sword. For example, today I saw an article in the news about the IRS starting the 30th of this month. Everyone's returns, if you are due any money back from the government or whatever, everyone's returns is going to be electronic. They're doing away with paper checks. Now, there's a pro and a con to that. you know, um, I don't consider myself a suspicious person, but I am a little discerning, you might say. I feel like I have to sneeze. That is terrible, y'all. Anyway, I just came in and there's like a lot of something going on out there because it's going to rain. But anyway, I think it's a double-edged sword. Now, I understand that we're in the digital age, and everybody wants to be on the cutting edge. Everybody wants to be first to accomplish this and accomplish that when it comes to technology. I understand that. I understand about progress. I mean, there's very few of us that are still going around in horse and buggy. Very few of us. Most of us either deal with public transportation or we have vehicles that we use, or airplanes or whatever, to get around. And so, I'm sorry, let me turn this down some here. And so I understand that. The double-edged sword about it is that, I see where it can be very wasteful to have to be sending out, mailing out, because even that is at the taxpayer's expense. You have to realize the government has no money except what they extract from the citizens, right? So it costs a lot of money to send out paper checks and stuff in the mail, to print the checks, to pay whoever prints the checks to actually print the checks, and then to send it out through the U.S. Postal Service, which sucks right now. But anyway, I can see how that could save a lot of money if you eliminate that. Here's the bad part about it is that, when you have a paper check and you cash the check and you have the cash, right? You have the cash. They don't know what you've done with the cash, right? You have the cash. You could buy groceries with it. You could buy precious metals with it. You could buy, help, put a down payment on a car, whatever, right? If it's digital, then they know exactly where it went. You see what I mean? Now, they already know exactly what they gave you. But once you cash it, they don't know where it went. We're dealing with governments, global mindsets, who want to know where your money is going, every penny. They want to be able to control its coming and its going. Okay? This is my perspective. You might want to sit at the campfire and sing Kumbaya. Okay? I'm just telling you. My perspective is it is a power grab. Now, again, let me preface this by saying I understand progress. I do. I also understand that progress and power in the hands of selfishly ambitious entities is very destructive. I understand that as well. So where does that leave the general populace when every dime that they get, is electronically recorded somewhere? Because the banks and the credit unions still have to report to the government, right? This is why they want a cashless society. I didn't even want to get into that, but let me just, bear with me. This is why they want a cashless society. When a person has cash, they don't know where the money's going. Now, if you guys remember, about 4 years ago, I did a video on my other channel called the Aristopats, right? And I was explaining to you all the challenge that my husband and I had when we went to the bank to withdraw some money. Hi, Amber. And it was more than a notion. Let me tell you, it was an eye-opening experience. All because of what President Bush did back in 9/11, where they, well, let me listen. YouTube suppressed my last video that I did talking about insanity and depravity, and they didn't like that. I mean, they squashed my numbers. So I'm going to try very hard not to self-censor here, okay? But um and you guys, help me out and just push my channel out to other people, because YouTube they kind of ticked off with me, and they're letting me know they ain't happy about my content. But anyway, so back then, when George W. Bush was president, and this whole thing happened with 9/11. And let me tell you, we don't even know all the facts about 9/11, except my um, gut tells me that it wasn't done by who they said it was done by. Let me put it like that. 9/11 was a Trojan horse to issue in the Patriot Act. If you've not read the Patriot Act, just Google the Patriot Act and start reading. And you will see exactly what they did to this country and what they did to you as a citizen with inalienable rights. What they did to you when they instituted the Patriot Act. Okay? This was done by a globalist. This was done by a global cabal who understood that there was no possible way to take this country down unless they did it from the inside. And the only way they can do that is to, number one, psychological warfare, to fight against the minds of the people, to get them on the side of the decisions that they were trying to make so that we could go into war so that they could make money. And so just follow that trail, okay? But this whole thing about digital currency, back in the day, before my day and before your day, people were getting along just fine doing business the way they did business, okay? They traded things, they borrowed stuff, they brought it back, you give me a cup of sugar and I'll give you a loaf of bread or whatever, right? Now you still had to buy that stuff from somewhere, or unless you were growing it yourself and you were self-sufficient. My point is, we got along just fine. Technology has its drawbacks, okay? I'll give you another example. So I have this app on my phone. It's been on my phone. I just started using it over the last couple of weeks or so. And I asked it a question about a very worldwide, famously known individual who lost their life about 11 days ago. And do you know, I asked my phone where this gentleman was buried. You know, my phone told me that they weren't dead. They were very much alive. They were very much alive. And that they were the CEO of this large, student thing. And I'm sitting there, here I sat in front of my television for a good 4 hours watching a memorial service for a person that my phone was telling me was very much alive. So you know what I did? I put a message in my phone back to this app, and I said, why are you spreading misinformation? You know what my phone said? You were right to call me out on that. Listen, you guys, technology is great till it ain't, okay? That thing flat lied to me and told me the exact opposite of what I knew to be a fact, okay? So then, after it says I was right to call it out on that, it turned around and gave me all the information and said that this individual was their body was in Phoenix and they were being buried. Listen to this, at a columbarium at a United Methodist Church in Phoenix. I think they said First United Methodist Church in Phoenix. So we look up First United Methodist Church in Phoenix. They don't have a columbarium. So listen, you guys, with the whole AI thing, I'm just telling you, them things lie. All right. I mean, they will flat lie. And if, they're only as good as the people that's programming them. So I was testing it because I wanted to see what it was going to say. And then I called it out on it and said, oh, you're a person of high integrity. And thank you. I was using the latest information I had. Well, if that was the latest information they had, and I just asked this question yesterday, and we're 11 days past this funeral, and it's telling me that the individual ain't dead, and I watched the memorial service. Yeah, like I said, technology is great till it ain't. So what does that have to do with the economy? Well, let me tell you. Now that they want to do all this digital stuff, which has been in the works for years now, like I said, 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when my husband and I went to the bank to get some money out, that I tell you, I was absolutely traumatized because, and my husband got so mad, and he ain't the getting real mad type, right? I mean, if he gets mad, he's mad. He was mad. He was so mad. He left me in the bank to deal with the manager because he didn't trust himself to come out of that one okay. And I thought, oh my God. So he left and he went and got in the car and left me in there. I'm the one with the fiery tempers. I don't know why he left me in there, but anyway, I managed to not get myself put in jail that day. But the guy was telling me, he kept asking me, why did I want this money? Now, listen, when I read that Patriot Act thing, I saw in there that if you wanted a certain amount of cash, it had to be under a certain amount of dollars. Well, why is that? Here's the thing. They always say, that what they're doing and what they're, whatever policies they're coming up with is for your safety. It's for your, let me tell you something. No, it ain't. Okay. It's because they're nosy and they're control freaks and they want to know what you're doing all the time. See, this whole double-edged sword thing, I understand wanting to know what people are doing that are involved in illicit activity. I'm sorry, you guys, I keep scratching because I'm itching and I feel like I want to sneeze. And oh Lord. Anyway, if you're dealing with a criminal enterprise and you're trying to build a case against this organization or against the people that are the head of the organization, I can understand that. But just spying on regular citizens that haven't given you a reason to think that, it's like you're just looking for the crime. As somebody said, you show me the man, I'll show you the crime, right? Because there's nobody that's faultless. So you've done something wrong somewhere at some time in your life. And if they want you bad enough, they're going to find that something and dig it up on you. And then they'll just go from there. They'll make you a Russian spy if they have to. They'll just lie. They'll do whatever. So anyway, the reason I'm saying all this concerning the economy, and I'm kind of all over the place, is because the things that are going on in other countries in regard to their societies collapsing, I mean, it's bad out there, folks. I'm telling you, stuff is going on in other countries. Germany got rid of 9 of their politicians because they were sick of them. They just, I'm like, who does that? Anyway, Germany did that. I think I'm trying to think of what was the last country I looked at that was ablaze. I thought, Lord Jesus, these people are fed up. People are sick and tired of going to work and not making enough money to pay their bills. They can't even pay their bills. I was looking at um, a video last night. It was a short, and there was a few people, young people, young, consider me, but anyway, young people that had gone to college. This one girl, she went to college. She had a degree in designer fashion. I didn't even know that was a thing. Okay. Anyway, she had a degree in designer fashion. And I don't know if she had a bachelor's or something, but I didn't even know that was a thing. But anyway, um, she can't find a job. She is thousands of dollars in debt and she can't find a job. And I don't know her, but she talks as if she knows her stuff. But she can't find a job that does not want to pay her more than $17 an hour. And this is a degreed person. Then there was another lady. Um, she has two children. She's married. She was saying that her and her husband are completely out of money. Just completely out. They just don't have no money. She also is a degreed person, and she said she could not find a job that would pay her over $15 an hour. She says, if I put my two children in daycare, it would cost more than what I would earn in a month to put them in daycare so that I could go to work. So technically, she'd be working for free because the money that she would be in a deficit anyway, trying to pay childcare, would be gone. Just gone. All right. So now, if you look at it on the surface, you would think that the economy is doing great. The economy is doing better than it was. It ain't great. And the reason I say that, now I'm blessed. Okay. I'm going to tell you, God blessed me to put some things in place before the crap hit the fan. And then next thing you know, there was no more fans for the crap to hit. Well, I was already positioned for that kind of a scenario. Thank you, Jesus. But not everybody was. Not everybody could do that, right? So anyway, what I'm trying to get at is this. Some people are doing better than others. That's the way of the world. It's always been like that. The poor you'll have with you always. The scripture says that. And some people are doing better than others. But I want to tell you this. If you say, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago or whatever, if you were a person who was invested in heavy metals, let's just say silver, gold, copper, whatever, not the copper's moving that much, but if you invested in heavy metals back then, and say maybe you bought some silver when it was $12 an ounce or $13 an ounce. Well, now it's like 32 an ounce. So you're doing pretty good if you haven't spent that or cashed it in or whatever. And if you bought, say, an ounce of gold way back then when maybe it was 1,200 and now it's what? I don't even know. Let me see. I don't know. I don't even know what it is. Let me see. Today. Now, I'm looking at one of the large online dealers, right?